Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you are watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with another update coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I have a ton of huge news that I'd like to share with all of you today. So, we're going to talk more about this meeting yesterday between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and also the U.S. President Donald Trump. And we also had Vice President J.D. Vance out of the U.S. also meeting with Zelensky. And we talked a lot about this yesterday. I gave you guys two big updates talking about this meeting, and we know it was disastrous. It did not go well. A major shouting match ensued shortly into this meeting. Trump and Zelensky started arguing. Also, J.D. Vance arguing with Zelensky, teaming up on him as well with Trump, and did not go well. Okay, we heard that Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had left early from the White House. Then we heard that he was actually kicked out. So it did not go good. Now we're going to talk about the aftermath of that meeting and what's potentially coming today. Lots of huge headlines coming out. So U.S. Ukraine relationship falls drastically after disastrous meeting. You can see here on your screen. U.S. military aid to Ukraine could be in jeopardy after a contentious Oval Office meeting Friday between President Trump, Vice President J.D. Vance, and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Okay, so things not looking good today. We're going to talk a lot about aid going to Ukraine as it looks like it is going to be cut off. Major statement came out from the press secretary from the White House today, Caroline Leavitt. So we'll show you that information. So we're going to start jumping into the news. We're going to try to move as quickly as we can over these reports. And it's just because there's so much information coming out today. I want to try to cram all that into one video. So let's start off here with Megatron Raw New. Trump has begun taking action against Zelensky after kicking him out of the White House. After a row with Zelensky, Trump ordered national security officials to check whether Washington could completely or temporarily stop arms supplies to Ukraine, Wall Street Journal reports. U.S. President is reported to be planning to observe Zelensky's further actions. Trump also is no longer interested in reviving the Ukraine minerals deal following Zelensky's disrespect aimed towards the United States. Trump will launch an investigation into the missing billions in U.S. aid to Ukraine, for which Zelensky also admitted. Excuse me. So we can see things are already not looking good. Okay, aid potentially getting cut off to Ukraine completely. I mean, like I said, it looks like it already has been, according to Caroline Leavitt. I'll show you guys that report. And then also in terms of the minerals deal, looks like that's hanging in the balance. I mean, just basically everything between U.S. and Ukraine relations as of today is hanging in the balance right now. We don't know how things are going to unfold, but right now it's not looking good. Will Ukraine and U.S. be able to repair their relations in the future? That remains to be seen, but we'll see what happens. Here's that report now from Max24. Trump administration may end further indirect support for Ukraine, including other types of military funding, intelligence sharing, and military training, according to New York Times. So this is what came out today, okay? Flow of U.S. weapons to Ukraine is nearly stopped and may end completely. Biden administration saw the $67 billion in military assistance it provided to Kiev as essential. Trump sees any further aid as leverage, okay? So completely different views from the Biden administration to the Trump administration, okay? And it looks like potentially we could see weapons completely being halted for Ukraine, okay? So moving on to next to now, breaking, the White House has announced that there will be no more aid to Ukraine. Trump administration press secretary Caroline Leavitt stated that the U.S. will no longer provide military assistance to Ukraine because their priority is peace negotiations. This decision came after the controversy during Zelensky's visit. We are no longer going to just write blank checks for a war in a very distant country without a real, lasting peace, Leavitt said. It was great that the cameras were rolling because the American people and the whole world got to see what President Trump and his team are dealing with behind closed doors in negotiations with the Ukrainians, she added. Earlier, the Washington Post reported that Trump administration is not ruling out halting all ongoing, military aid shipments to Ukraine worth billions of dollars. So it looks like any future aid right now, this could change in the future. We don't know. But at least right now, most of the aid going to Ukraine is going to be halted. No new packages. I mean, we already heard that from Congress too. The House Speaker, Mike Johnson, he came out about a week ago stating that they were not going to be passing any new aid packages to Ukraine. So things are not looking good moving forward. So we're going to have to see how things unfold in the future. But right now, it looks like a lot of aid getting cut off to Ukraine as of today, okay? Now for Mosin Technical, Ukrainian President Zelensky appears to have departed Washington and is headed back towards Ukraine tonight, leaves after a disastrous 24 hours on the ground in D.C. Okay, so this was last night after Zelensky finished up his meeting. He did hold an interview with Fox News yesterday. Looks like soon after that, that's when he left Washington. So I was expecting him to maybe stay for a few days, maybe come back, try to talk to Trump again. But no, looks like the Ukrainian delegation completely left Washington yesterday after the interview with Fox News. Okay. Now, for more translated, Zelensky's plane has landed in the United Kingdom. The meeting between the president of Ukraine and Prime Minister Starmer was originally scheduled for March 2nd, but due to a loud dispute between Trump and Zelensky, according to Sky News, an additional meeting will take place today at Downing Street. It was also reported that Starmer called Trump regarding his spat with the Ukrainian leader and may try to smooth over the conflict. Okay, so now, Zelensky arriving inside of the UK, meeting with Prime Minister Keir Starmer today on Downing Street. I've got a photo to show you here in a sec where they met. This was a report from Sky News. It says Zelensky to meet Starmer and no 10 hours after argument with Trump. Okay, so very quickly, Zelensky's actually not expected to be there until Sunday, which is tomorrow, but he arrived early to hold an emergency meeting with Keir Starmer. Okay, as things were not looking good with the White House. So here's that photo now from Military News UA. President Zelensky and British Prime Minister Starmer will meet at 7:15 p.m. Tomorrow there will be a summit and meeting with King Charles III, Press Secretary of the President of Ukraine, Nikiforov. Okay, so here's that photo of Zelensky and Keir Starmer as they met today on Downing Street as Zelensky jumped out of his motorcade after he arrived in the UK. Okay, so right now he is meeting with Keir Starmer. We'll see how things go with that. Now, here's a video coming out from Republicans against Trump. Trump says President Zelensky should be nicer to Vladimir Putin. He doesn't have to stand there and say Putin this, Putin that, all negative things. He's got to say, I want to make peace. I don't want to fight any longer. It's clear that Trump wants Ukraine to surrender to Putin. Okay, so clearly this is an account that's against Trump. It literally says they are. But I wanted to pull this up to show you guys a statement coming out from Trump. Just today, he was kind of responding to the whole situation, that happened between Zelensky and Trump yesterday. So just real quick, 20 seconds, take a look.
He's got to say, I want to make peace. He doesn't have to stand there and say about Putin this, Putin that, and all negative things. He's got to say, I want to make peace. I don't want to fight a war any longer. His people are dying. He doesn't have the cards, just so you understand it, okay?
Okay, so it looks like Trump wants Zelensky to come out and just say, hey, I want peace with Russia. We don't want to fight this war anymore. It's kind of what he's stating here, but this was just a quick statement coming out from Trump yesterday, just basically calling on the Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, to start pushing to end this war, okay? And that was what he had to say regarding that. Now from Clash Report, European officials to Bloomberg, the Oval Office disaster was an ambush. Europe collectively will try to pick up the pieces. It looks like Trump has made up his mind to sell out Ukraine. Okay, this is what European officials were stating to the news outlet Bloomberg just today. Okay, so they're stating this was a complete disaster in the Oval Office today. Europe's going to have to try to do cleanup work here, and also Trump has made up his mind to sell out Ukraine. You guys could let me know how you feel about that. Did Trump do that yesterday? Max 24 now, everything that has happened to Zelensky confirms the fact that he will not only be removed from potential conversations with Trump and Putin, but will be completely excluded from them, according to the Wall Street Journal. Okay, so, I mean, that already looked like it was the case prior to this horrible meeting that happened yesterday. But maybe is it going to make it even worse now? Is the U.S. not going to want to work with Ukraine at all? I mean, if they're going to be cutting off aid, it looks like in some ways they may want nothing to do with Ukraine unless Ukraine comes out and says, okay, we want peace immediately. And, maybe even some ways look like they're capitulating to Putin. Who knows here? But that was a statement coming out today as well from the Wall Street Journal. Now for Max 24, I can't change our attitude towards the Russians. They are murderers. Putin and the Russians are our enemies, says Zelensky. We are ready to sign agreement on minerals, but this is not enough. Maybe I don't know something and Trump has a plan to stop Putin. Maybe people just want to hear that America is on our side, not on the side of Russia. Okay, so these were statements coming out from Zelensky in that interview yesterday on Fox News. You can see here, Ukrainian President Zelensky exclusive interview. So he did show up at that interview. These are some of the statements that were coming out from there. I've got a little bit more as well to show you guys. This one from Next. Zelensky stated that he does not believe he did anything wrong during the meeting at the White House and sees no reason to apologize to Trump. According to Volodymyr Zelensky, during the meeting in the Oval Office, he spoke As a president of people who have been fighting for 3 years, other excerpts excuse me, from Zelensky's interview with Fox News. I respect the US president, I respect the American people, and I'm not sure we did anything wrong. We are partners. We are ready for peace, but we have a strong position and security guarantees. Am I wrong? We must sign an agreement on natural resources. We are ready for this. Okay, so once again, just coming out talking about the mineral resource agreement. They're ready to sign it, but they want security guarantees. He's coming out showing his respect to the U.S. administration, the U.S. Citizens as well, thanking them. He's come out multiple times already saying thank you to the U.S., although during the meeting, he was told multiple times that he was not being thankful. So, pretty crazy. Let's go jump to our next update here. Now from Max 24, Bloomberg, Zelensky is finished, U.S. official source said. Okay, so look at the headlines today. It's just crazy. Pretty much saying that U.S. and Ukraine relations are over, and the fact that Zelensky's president. Maybe if they got a different president in there, it might be different. But at least Zelensky's communication and relations with Donald Trump is pretty much over. Is kind of what we're seeing today in a lot of the headlines. Now for Max 24, you never said thank you, according to JD Vance. Okay, so JD Vance yesterday, he was really pressuring Vladimir Zelensky and telling him, are you even thankful for this administration trying to end this war for you? We're doing all the work, basically. We have all the cards. We're trying to end this war for Ukraine and save your country, and you're not even being grateful. You're being ungrateful. Well, this was a little collage of different statements coming out from Zelensky over the past years, multiple times saying thank you for all the aid that was being passed and given over to Ukraine. And I have to agree with that too. I've seen Zelensky say more than enough times that he was thankful for the U.S. to help them out. So I wouldn't say in any way is Zelensky being ungrateful and taking advantage of the U.S., at least in terms of saying thank you back to the U.S., because there's multiple times that we have seen that. Okay, so I just wanted to note that. This was interesting coming out today. Now from Andrew, why don't you wear a suit? Do you own a suit? Okay, so take a look at how many likes this post has gotten. 264,000. It definitely went viral on X today, and it was just a photo of Trump here and the Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. And if you notice here, he doesn't wear a suit, and I understand that's probably part of their culture, whatnot, but this was kind of like a hypocrisy kind of thing, showing, hey, why does Trump and the U.S. administration not say anything towards Saudi Arabia, but Ukraine cannot show up without wearing a suit, because he was heavily pressured on that yesterday, or Zelensky was, that is. So that was just kind of like a meme or like a hypocrisy statement coming out today that clearly went viral here. Just wanted to share that with you because that was a huge thing that happened during that meeting yesterday. Now from Noel Reports, Trump is a coward and Putin's puppet. Vance is Trump's puppet. Yesterday we saw a meeting of two puppets and a hero, says Representative Seth Moulton on Zelensky's meeting with Trump. Many Republicans agree with me, but are scared to openly say it, he said. Okay, so this was reportedly a statement being made here from Representative Seth Moulton, and he stated this, I believe, on CNN yesterday. So he was basically calling Trump a coward and Putin's puppet, and also Vance as well, considering that, we still continue to see this. It looks like in a lot of ways, the U.S. administration is not for Ukraine. They're not supporting them. In some ways, it seems like they're trying to sabotage dialogue right now themselves between the U.S. and Ukraine. At least some people may agree with that, but definitely was a very crazy situation yesterday. Now from Vicegrad 24, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte. You have to find a way, dear dear Volodymyr, to restore your relations with Trump. Okay, so yesterday, I guess, when Volodymyr Zelensky spoke with Mark Rutte, the NATO Secretary General, this is what he stated to him. He said, you got to try to find a way to restore your relations with Trump. Okay, so we'll see if that comes. And right now, it's not looking good, but maybe over the next few days or next few weeks, maybe things will get back right on the right path again. Maybe Ukraine will start to hop on, U.S. will start to hop on Ukraine's side again and kind of help them out. But right now, it's really not looking like that right now. So we'll have to see what happens, okay? Also from World Source News 24/7, U.S. official to CNN, relations with Ukraine look irreparable if Zelensky remains president. Okay, so yet again, another major headline coming out also from CNN, and pretty much stating that Zelensky's finished, okay, that he's not going to be able to work with the U.S. anymore, at least not him being president. Maybe if there's a different president in there, it might be different, but right now it's not looking good for Zelensky is kind of what's coming out today. Now, from next, Zelensky gave a detailed comment on X following the failed meeting with Trump and explained his position. Here are the key takeaways. We are grateful to the U.S. for all the support. I appreciate President Trump, Congress for their bipartisan backing, and the American people. Ukrainians have always valued this support, especially over these 3 years of full scale invasion. President Trump's support is extremely important to us. He is determined to end the war, but no one wants peace more than we do. We're the ones living under war conditions in Ukraine. This is a fight for our freedom and literally our survival. We are ready to sign a mineral agreement, and this will be the first step towards security guarantees, but this is not enough. We need more than that. A ceasefire without guarantees is dangerous for Ukraine. Russians are killing us. Russia is the enemy. This is our reality. Ukraine wants peace, but it must be a just and lasting peace. And for that, we must be in a strong position at the negotiating table. Peace can only come when we have security guarantees, when our military is strong, and when we have partners supporting us. We cannot simply stop fighting without assurances that Putin won't return tomorrow. No one wants another wave of occupation. If we are not accepted into NATO, we need a clear security guarantee structure from our allies in the United States. We also need U.S. involvement in defining security guarantees. I would like the U.S. to be more on our side. This is not just some war between two countries. Russia brought this war to our land and to our homes. If understandable that the U.S. may seek dialogue with Putin, but the U.S. has always spoken about peace through strength, and together we can take strong steps against Putin. Okay, so there's that photo yesterday from the Oval Office when they were arguing. So yeah, just some very big statements coming out from Zelensky today on X. This was just a little compilation of all those to share with you guys. So it does look like, Ukraine still wants to work with the U.S., at least Zelensky does. Him coming out just talking about Russia and saying, Russia's still the enemy. We can't really change our position on them. We still need this war to come to an end, but it needs to come to an end safely with security guarantees. If they can't get into NATO, they need good security guarantees from the U.S. So it's something that Zelensky's been talking about a lot recently. Now, from the Ukrainian Review, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer spoke with both Trump and Zelensky to ease tensions, while most European leaders publicly backed Ukraine, according to Bloomberg. Okay, so yesterday, I let you guys know I gave a second update, like a post update regarding the meeting with Trump and Zelensky, and I'll let you guys know that a lot of European leaders were coming out in support for Ukraine. So we already know that yesterday, but it does look like here Starmer and Trump and Zelensky did hold some sort of phone call, or Keir Starmer did try to ease tensions between the two of them, okay? So now moving on to Vicegrad 24. Breaking, Maloney, we need an immediate summit between the U.S., the Europeans, and our allies. Let's frankly discuss how to face our challenges, starting with Ukraine, okay? So Giorgia Meloni, the Prime Minister of Italy, calling for the U.S. and European allies to come together, hold a summit, and discuss what's going on here. What could they do to resolve these issues? So it looks like she's calling for a major summit to be held. We'll see if they end up doing that in the future. That was coming out today. Now for Max 24, European officials in conversation with Bloomberg, Trump puts Europeans in a position where they have to choose between the U.S. and Ukraine. Most, if not all, will choose Ukraine. For Europe, this has existential significance. Okay, so we already know yesterday, like I said earlier, a lot of European countries coming out supporting Ukraine. It was just insane the amount of support. Pretty much every European nation coming out and on X and putting some sort of statement, a positive statement, I should say, towards Ukraine and letting them know that they're still stand behind them and back them in their fight against Russia. And, clearly the U.S. yesterday did not do that. So Europe did do that for Ukraine. Now, Vicegrad 24, on the third anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Erdogan stated that full EU membership for Turkey is the only thing that can solve Europe's defense problems. Okay, so this could be very big if Turkey was able to get into the EU. This would make it much easier for European nations to do business with Turkey, as Turkey does produce a lot of weapons, and this could be a major solution for many European partners, as a lot of them don't have defense spending ramped up in their countries, and they don't produce a lot of weapons within their own countries in Europe. So if they were able to partner up with Turkey, that could potentially solve a lot of problems for them, okay? Now for Max 24, Turkey will reiterate Ankara's proposal to hold direct peace talks between Ukraine and Russia at a meeting of European leaders in London, according to Reuters. Okay, so apparently Turkey should be showing up also at this meeting in London, and they're going to be talking about the willingness to hold peace talks between Ukraine and Russia. As recently we heard that, I think it was last week or something like that, or earlier this week, that Turkey was willing to be like a station or grounds for peace talks. Okay, they're willing to hold that between Ukraine and Russia and kind of be mediators. Okay, so we'll see if that happens to be a thing. Now, from Vice Grad 24, Macron yesterday called upon Europe to rediscover taste for risk, ambition, and power and reject dependence on the U.S. Speaking during his 2 day visit to Portugal, Macron said that Europe must be more united and stronger than ever and take decisive steps in technological, industrial, and defense matters. I see a lot of people in Europe saying we'll have to be nice to the Americans. It'll pass. We have to bend our backs, Macron said in comments quoted by BFM TV. But submission is not an answer, the French president added, warning Europe against entering into a happy vassalage. Okay, so basically submitting to the US. So he's kind of warning Europe as a whole and saying, hey, we need to get our act together, start producing our own weapons, build up defense capabilities, stop relying on the US. That's kind of what Macron was stating over the last 24 hours. We've been seeing him coming out a lot, speaking like that. It almost seems like he's trying to become like an important leader in Europe and kind of stand up for Europe is kind of what I've been seeing from him. All right, now a couple updates here of attacks happening last night inside of Ukraine. So, literally just hours after this meeting with Trump and Zelenskyy, as it was disastrous, we had major strikes reported inside of Ukraine. So we'll go over that real quick. Bliskovka reports last night one person was killed, 3 others were injured in a Russian enemy drone strike in Odessa region of Ukraine. State Emergency Service reported the attack set fire to a private 1-story house as well as trucks and cars on the company's premises. So here's photos coming out. Looks like we had some commercial vehicles being destroyed at some sort of company or some sort of business. Looks like here there was some semi trucks that were destroyed. You can see pallets were caught on fire here also. So yeah, drone strikes taking place inside of Odessa. I think ballistic missiles were also hitting here last night. Here's another report from Ukrainian Review. Right now, Russia's attacking Odessa with ballistic missiles. So I believe the missiles are actually coming in the morning time. Last night was the drone attacks. I wasn't even able to find how many drones were coming into Ukraine just last night. It looks like a lot of the attention is drawn towards the feud right now between Trump and Zelenskyy. So if I can find that information at a later time, I'll let you guys know. But it looks like we did have drones and missiles coming into Ukraine just in the last 24 hours. Here's a video now from Anton Gerashenko. Putin wants peace. This must be why he keeps attacking hospitals and residential houses across Ukraine. And the footage was from inside the hospital in Kharkiv, that was hit by Russian drones last night. Okay, so take a look at the damage here to a hospital that was hit by Russian drones just the night before, but this video was taken during the day today. Take a look.
Ой, Влад, сними тоже. Я сняла, но я в шоке. Да я вообще в шоке. Тут уже и плачешь, и матюкаешься. Уже. Ну сколько можно? Это пиздец.
All right, guys, so very sad to see this. Looks like a hospital here being damaged. Not sure if this is even a dental office. Looks like it could be a dental office, maybe also that took some damage here, but we can see a lot of these windows being blown out. And, just again, more evidence of Russia attacking, commercial and civilian infrastructure inside of Ukraine as we continuously see hospitals and all kinds of institutions being damaged. Now for Max 24, Ukraine will be able to resist Russia for at least 6 months, even without U.S. help, writes Financial Times with reference to military and officials. What do you think? Okay, what do you guys think? Do you think if the U.S. decides to pull support today, how long do you think Ukraine can last against Russia? And is Europe going to be able to pick up the extra weight here? Okay, if we see the aid cut off from the U.S., will Europe be able to do that? I don't know for sure. I'm not sure where they get all their weapons from because a lot of them get sourced from outside their own countries. So could be a bad situation moving forward here in the future if this war does not end. Now for Bliskovka, Orban demands EU to start direct talks with Russia on ceasefire in Ukraine, according to the Financial Times, citing a letter from the politician to European Council President Antonio Costa. Okay, so this was a report from Financial Times today. Orban calls on EU to launch peace talks with Moscow over Ukraine. Hungarian Prime Minister tells EU Council President Costa that he will oppose any bloc-wide agreement. All right, so yeah, so apparently Viktor Orban coming out today calling on the EU to start these peace talks with Moscow, start getting this war to an end. We know that, a lot of people would say that Orban sides with Russia, not so much Ukraine and the West. But that's what he was stating today. He was calling on the EU to get that going and try to get this war to an end. Now, from next up, Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store calls on his government to increase financial support to Ukraine. Okay, this is something we're going to see a lot from European members or European nations that are friendly to Ukraine. So here's that report from Reuters today. Norway plans to raise financial support for Ukraine, Prime Minister says. Okay, that was just coming out today, March 1st. And yeah, expect to see a lot of European nations standing up for Ukraine now, and they're going to be more united than they ever were before, as the U.S. is basically turning their back on Ukraine from what we saw yesterday. Okay, so Europe's going to have to pick up a lot of the heavy load moving forward. Now from Bliskovka, the Baltic states are very unhappy that they were not invited to the Ukraine summit in London, according to Sky News. Starmer plans phone conversations with the leaders of Latvia, Lithuania, and Estonia, but this is a poor substitute for personal participation. All three Baltic states are among the biggest supporters of Ukraine in terms of percentage of GDP and opportunities provided, the source of the publication notes. All right, so it looks like the Baltic nations, Lithuania, Estonia, Latvia, were not invited to this meeting in London that's supposed to be taking place tomorrow, and Zelensky's going to be there. And yeah, so it looks like they were unhappy with that because they've supported so much for Ukraine. They feel like they should have been invited personally to this conference, but I'm not sure why they were not. Yeah, they were kind of voicing their concerns here and stating they were unhappy with not being invited. Now for Bliskovka, the pace of the Russian army's advance has been falling for the third month, writes Deep State. Despite the loss of pace, which reached the level of July last year, the enemy continues to pay a heavy price in manpower, analysts note. However, the enemy's activity has not gone anywhere. Ukrainian soldiers repel hundreds of attacks every day. So here's like a little chart that's come out to show the decrease in attacks on the Russian side. It's something we have been reporting over the last 2 to 3 months, but look how much it's been dropping. I know it's not in English, but this is each month. And this is probably February right here. So some of the lowest attacks in quite a while. Looks like, just 3 months ago, towards the end of the year, was really ramping up. Now it's starting to fall off. We have been seeing that. Even in just the casualty numbers on Russia's side, they are definitely falling recently, possibly indicating that we're seeing much less attacks. But nonetheless, still a lot of attacks being reported across the front line every day. Now for Max 24, Romania confirms Russian UAV crashed on its territory. The UAV had an unexploded warhead, which was neutralized on site in a controlled manner. So I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was last night, actually, that we had another Russian UAV that landed inside of Romania, because some sources on X were indicating that this was found today. And I think they may have even shot it down, okay? So if they did shoot it down, this is probably the first confirmed case of Romania actually shooting down a Russian drone, as just a couple months back, we had reports that Romania had passed a bill within their parliament to allow the military to actually shoot these down. And I can't believe they didn't have something like that prior. I mean, why would you not want to shoot down incoming targets coming into your territory, especially if it's got explosive warheads on it that could potentially land on somebody's house, harm someone, maybe even take somebody's life, right? So that was a new update today. Yet again, another drone crashing into Romania. Now we've got a couple of reports here coming from Pekka Niemi. That's a little hard to say. After tomorrow, Europe stands with Ukraine stronger than ever before, but words are cheap. Now we need action. Ramp up weapons production, send more military humanitarian aid to Ukraine, assist Ukraine in fighting corruption, enforce sanctions against Russia, stop intelligence sharing with the U.S. as there's a high chance they will share it with Putin, integrate Canada into the EU, create a mechanism to resist Orban's BS. For example, temporarily remove voting rights, sign a minerals deal with Ukraine, create nuclear deterrence, stand against big tech billionaires and fight against disinformation, stop Russian tourism in the EU, stop importing Russian oil and gas, stop trade with Russia also through third countries, and most importantly, seize the frozen Russian assets and give them to Ukraine. Remember, you could just do things. So this was just a statement coming out from this person here on X, and I wanted to show you guys that. Do you guys agree with a lot of these statements here. Do you think these are some of the things that should be implemented from the EU in terms of their support for Ukraine, and also just try to stop Russia and preventing this invasion into Ukraine even further? So let me know what you guys think about all those statements there. Do you think these are things that should be ongoing right now? I mean, the EU could definitely be doing a lot right now, and maybe they're not doing as much. So take a look at this also from Pekka Kallioniemi. It is now official. Okay, so just a little meme photo coming out, basically stating that the U.S. is now known as West Russia, considering what happened yesterday. Okay, we have been seeing that a lot recently. Okay, and I'm just showing you guys this as this is something that a lot of people are talking about on X right now. There's just so many people that are upset with what happened yesterday. And, people want to see the U.S. standing with Ukraine, not with Russia. But right now, we're really seeing the U.S. standing more on Russia's side. So definitely very unfortunate for the Ukrainians today. Now, finally, one last update for you guys from the Kyiv Independent. These are the indicative estimates of Russia's combat losses as of March 1st, according to the armed forces of Ukraine. So again, I apologize, guys. I wasn't able to locate any diagrams today showing the amount of drones going into Ukraine, but we know they definitely did as they attacked into Odessa and Kharkiv last night, also ballistic missiles being fired. But here's Russia's losses as of March 1st. 1,050 troops, 15 AFVs, 107 vehicles and fuel tanks, 11 tanks, 61 artillery systems, 128 UAVs, 1 MLRS, and 1 anti-aircraft warfare system. Okay, so again, like I talked to you guys about earlier, this troop number just continues to fall off the cliff is what it looks like to me. It's slowly been going down. Okay, we were up in like 1,800 for a long time towards the end of the last year. And then right when we hit like late January, just like about a month ago, it really started to decline. Okay, we're barely even passing 1,300, 1,400 troop losses, and it looks like it's dropping a little bit each day, back down to 1,000 today. Vehicle and fuel tank numbers a little bit lower, and also tank numbers slightly lower. We've been seeing closer to 15 recently. I think yesterday was at like 9, so I guess kind of on average today. But yeah, that's the indicative losses being reported from the Ukrainian side today. And, it's just going to get very interesting to see how things unplay here between the U.S. and Ukraine in the future. It's not looking good right now for Ukraine. And if the U.S. ends up pulling their support completely for Ukraine, they could be on their own. And Europe's going to have to pick up the extra weight here. Let's see if they're going to be able to do that. But it's really not looking good right now. But just let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Tell me what you think is going to happen here in the near future with Ukraine, and is Ukraine in a very dangerous position right now? Share your thoughts, concerns, and opinions down in the comment section. That's going to be it for today's update. If you got something out of this, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, hope you all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.